changes. This is the gallery section, but part of the museum will always stay the same. You got a curator. I'm going to introduce him later. But part of the history museum, this center part right here, is the gallery. And it changes. So when you come back in a couple of months, it'll be something different. Before this exhibit, it was the Jerry Allen slavery exhibit. So some of his artwork, you'll see it here throughout the museum. Some of it's still here. Some of it's been sold. Some of it is still on sale. So if you see something you like, you can actually present it today. Okay? But anyway, this is the gallery. And after February, Black History Month, it will change to something different. But today is the gateway to freedom, and it's very appropriate because this is MLK Day. Next month is Black History Month, and so this is important that we bring this out to the community. And everybody wants to know. Everybody wants to know about Black history. Some people are afraid to say they are, but most people want to know about Black history. And so that's why we'll be here. We'll be here. And I think I went into the occasion, but I want to bring up our Vice President of the Alton Park Development Corporation, Ms. Cassandra Wiseman. And Cassandra, just elaborate on the occasion today. I'm sorry if I stole your time. I didn't mean to. She did. No, I saw her. So. But this is Cassandra Wiseman, and she is the Vice President of Alton Park Development Corporation.
Hello again, and welcome. Dr. Woods pretty much said it all, but we are so happy that you all decided to join us in this special occasion. I'm so sorry. Can you hear me now? Okay. So again, we're happy that you all decided to join us, and I'll just kind of piggyback a little bit off of what Dr. Wood said in terms of cultural awareness and just knowing each other, showing that respect for one another, and that's what we're here to do. The museum is just a good start. It's very informative. So if you find or do nothing else, then please just highlight that and enjoy it.
Okay, thank you. At this moment, we will have an opening prayer by Minister Cedric Brown.
We all bow here. Dear God, Heavenly Father, we come to you this morning, today just say thank you, Lord. Thank you for this exhibit, Lord, where we get to go down throughout the history, Lord, as we remember where we came from, Lord, as some people learn where we come from, Lord, so we can know where we're going. We want to say thank you for everyone who had a hand in putting this together, Lord. Thank you, Lord, as we celebrate one of the greatest leader that we've had, Lord, his birthday, Dr. King, Lord. He said one of his greatest speeches, Lord, is threat to justice, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere, Lord. So let us remember, Lord, as we continue to move forward, Lord, and we may look back on these days, Lord, the ones who gave their life so that we may live, Lord, that we may live free, Lord, and as we continue to fight the good fight, Lord, let us fight with the strength that those that went before us did, Lord, that loss may not be in vain. We ask the Lord that you continue to bless the leaders in this place, Lord, that they continue to bring us exhibits like this, Lord, as the years ago, that we may teach our young ones, Lord, the sacrifices that were made, Lord, that we may achieve greatness, Lord. We want to say thank you and we praise you, Lord. In Jesus' name we do pray. Amen.
Amen. All right, thank you for that awesome prayer. And yes, at this time, I would like to bring to the front of the room Mr. Harold Bryson, who is the Black History instructor for the African American Education and Heritage Museum. Will you please come forward?
Well,
Yeah, he's on compliment. Okay.
anyway, you can move that speaker closer.
But we can hear pretty good. Can y'all hear pretty good? Okay.
Thank you very much, Dr. Woods, and I just got my order from the person who got me out of retirement here, he told me to sit right here.
All right.
Brother Holloway, I really had kind of retired from really dealing with talking about history. And I got a call from somebody who says, we have an African museum here, and you're going to be the teacher, and that's all to the hung the phone up. The only person who can do that to me is Johnny Holloway. But you know, the great historian, Carter D. Woodson, says that history, if a race has no history, it has no worthwhile tradition, and it stands to be a negligent factor in the thought of the world, and it fails to be exterminated if your history is gone. I self-proclaimed historian, and I'm fortunate over the years have been in the company of a lot of historians and people also who was involved in the movement. There is a difference in America when they say Black history. It's different. You have Black history and you have Afro-American history. Afro-American history deals with what happens in America to Black people. Black history is universal. And the first thing that we would talk about in class would be the cradle of civilization. And one of the things that I kind of feel good about is a gentleman by the name of Dr. Robin Balkan from the UK, the United Kingdom, Britain. And for decades, he has been involved in Black history throughout the universe. I call it the universe. And I kind of felt good to know I was on target. He called two Black authors' names in the book that they wrote, The Destruction of the Black Civilization by Professor Chancellor Williams. That is a great book. And Chancellor Williams almost went blind. He went into Africa and discovered that they had what he called federations. And if you ever seen the movie, King Solomon Man with Robert Taylor, there is an actual realization scene that when they go into Africa, they had to get the permission of the federation of all of the chiefs in Africa so that they could come in and make a film. Now, in that movie, there are tall, Black, slender men that the historian Herodotus described as Hezekiah, who's in the Bible. Those particular men was the same type of men with the same build, trim, wide shoulders, and kinky hair. Herodotus was during the time of ancient civilization, describing them. One of the things that now concerns me is that Eli Musk says that Jesus is Black. I want to know his motive. And to me, and I'm going to sit down, his motive is, to me, the Sumerians are the cradle of civilization of the world. They are Black people. They call themselves the Black people. And they said that they mixed with the gods. And what happened over that period of time, that those people in Mesopotamia, which means what? The land between the rivers. And all those people realized that this particular group, that was called Sumer, and eventually the name became the Sumerians, they are the ones who developed architecture, iron, and different things. And they left. They eventually was killed. Their culture was taken care of because Accolon, who was an Arab, he said, we got to get rid of the Black-headed people. But they was the founders of the cradle of civilization. So I kind of get excited and get into this. But I want to, since this is Dr. King Day, I want to ask, does anyone in here know the name Grace Stevens? As I've heard of you all. Grace Stevens, this relates to Dr. King situation, his death, our leader. Grace Stevens, a toothless Caucasian woman who lived in a border house down by the Lorraine Hotel, saw the murder, the man who killed Dr. King. It was not James Earl Ray. And when I was a teenager in 1968, I'm from Humboldt, Tennessee, one of the rumors that went out through West Tennessee was that they had put a crazy woman in jail who said they saw the killer. Now that didn't make the news. Later on in my development of understanding the civil rights, the FBI went into that boarding house and told her husband, Charles, that we'll give you $90,000 if your wife will say that James Earl Ray was the man that she saw. And Grace Stevens said, no, that was not the man that I saw. The FBI told Charles Stevens, her husband, you go upstairs and do what you have to do to get her to say that it was James Earl Ray. He went upstairs and beat her unmercifully. Her name is Grace Stevens. She would not do it. He went back downstairs and told the FBI he could not do it. They took her and put her, now I grew up in West Tennessee. In Baltimore, Tennessee, we used to call it Crazy House. That's what it's called Arlington now. That's where people went who's supposed to be in the MLK. And she stayed there until, I think it was in the 80s, that there was a group who finally got the legal clearance to go in and talk with her out of all those years. And when they went in and talked with her, they said to her, now this is what you said to the FBI, that James Earl Ray killed Dr. King. And she said to that group, no, that's what they told me to say. So when you take a look at history and how things go about, that's just part of it. So I just wanted to say, by this being Dr. King's day, that's part of history. That's the kind of thing you have to put, and you know, I get excited being a historian. You have to put pen to paper. You have to start at the grassroots and get origin and research and research and research until you can get to the truth. Grace Stevens is her name. How many of you all knew that? Grace.
I heard the story.
You heard the story, okay? But that's true. So anyway, I've got to go, but I have to talk about a lot of stuff, really, you know. But in the class, we're going to talk about cradle civilization, African background, the transatlantic slave trade, transition of the Negro culture to the African American culture. You like that all the way? The role of the Black church in the African American community, the strength of the African American families, past, present, and future, and reparations and so on. But also, let me say this, that one of the things that not only in the United States, but throughout from the history, they have taken racism as a tool to use it against human rights. See, it's not about racism. It's about human rights. It's not about civil rights. It's about human rights. But the system has taken the tool of racism and did what? The violence. What do we fight against every day? Racism. It's a tool to divide people. Because life is about human rights. If you respect everybody, you have less problem. But anyway, hey man, I got to go out here on there. I appreciate y'all, man.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bryson.
I can talk talk forever, you know that. That's why you need to sign up for the class. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yes. The class starts February, so we'll get the information to y'all before you leave today.
Yeah, and one of the books is Julia Luster, To Be a Slave. How many of you heard that? 1968, Julia Luster. You in the top, man, I gotta talk to y'all about being real. It's February 13th. Oh, yeah.
Okay, let's make a point to sign up for that class.
I gotta talk to you about black studies, black caucus. I'll tell you about a real black caucus, okay?
All right, thank you so much. That's our black instructor.
You have any idea what date?
And I should say that
There's a
Mr.
cost involved, tell them.
There is a cost involved. Mr. Rice has taught black history for more than 50 years. So he is, I would say, the doctor of black history. You know, they say when you got about 4 years of experience behind something, or 10 years behind or something, you're equivalent to a bachelor's degree. So now this gentleman here has more than 50 years of experience in black history. So I'm gonna call him Dr. Rice, okay? Because he's earned that. He's earned that.
All right, thank you guys again for coming out today on this brave in these cold temperatures. My name is Ethan Elvis. I'm the executive director of the Mary Walker Foundation. And my grandfather was the founder of the Mary Walker Foundation. It was conceived around 1969, 70, when he was going through a challenging time in his life. He was a civil rights fighter and, worker in Nashville before he came to Chattanooga. And when he came, he just hit the ground doing the same thing. And his house got firebombed. And so on the top fold of the newspaper was the bombing of his house. And then right below the fold, there was Mary Walker's picture who had died, and they had her age wrong at 103. So it was conceived maybe about a year after that when he saw that article in the paper. And he's been, since for over 50 years, the Mary Walker Foundation has been promoting literacy and providing educational programs and displays like the one we have today, Gateway to Freedom. And my father took over that, and he's been putting up these exhibits. I come and help, and by the way, let me thank him, John Elvis III, and Miss Faye Studdemeyer for all the work they did putting up this exhibit. And putting them around the park. I did a little bit. I was painting this phase helper, because every time I came around, I see if I handed this and handed that. So we actually put on a summer school, which all donations will be going towards our summer program, which we work with rising high school kids over at Hope City Church on Brandon Road for the month of June. And we help them develop their literacy and comprehension skills, strengthen themselves to go be successful in life and in school. And we appreciate any donations you may have to offer, and we will use it wisely. And you can look us up on MaryWalkerFoundation.org and see some of the other things that we do. And again, thank you for coming out today. And I'm going to hand it off to the Master Curator, Mr. John III. Oh, let me, Dr. Holloway, let me want to make a few remarks. Thanks.
My name is Johnny Holloway, and I've been in Chattanooga ever since I was about 3 weeks old. I was born in Alabama, Calabasas County, Campbell, Alabama. And my father was a sharecropper, and there was a dispute between the sharecropper and the owner, how much money they owed him. So there was a dispute over that, and my father was a pretty good mathematician, although he didn't finish high school. So he knew how much money he was supposed to get. So they tell me, this is oral history, they told me later, that my father took his money from the white man And he left Alabama running, and he wound up in Chattanooga, he was on the way to Detroit. And that's how we wound up in Chattanooga, and I've been here ever since. But I asked my oldest son, what should I speak to you about today very shortly? And he said, why don't you tell them about how Operation Push got started in Chattanooga? And that's a good subject. But then I went to the youth rally with Kevin Mohammed out here at his place on City Code. And after hearing those young people, I decided to say something different. And what I heard from those young people, they need some direction on group orientation. They are individuals. They are very good individuals, but they have no knowledge of group. And I came out of a time in history where I was raised by a village. I'm really a village kid. And what I mean by that, I lived on the west side projects. And my father worked, my mother didn't work for a while until she learned out the village would take care of me while she worked. So she got her job. And the village really raised us. So we had to go, before we went home, we had to go through the neighbor's houses for her to check us out to see if we was all together coming from school. The food was ready by neighbors, because my mother and father was working. And my mother figured that out, so she said, I can go to work because the village will take care of y'all. And one thing about the village that I learned was that it's stress education. Everywhere we turned, education slapped us in the face. We couldn't get away from education if we tried. Let me tell you something about this. In the black community, the number runners, they was truant officers. When they were going around from house to house, picking up the numbers, they see kids out of school, they tell the parents on them. So they were the truant officers. The prostitution, I used to go on 9th Street before I go home every day. When I came from school, college, I would stop off and go on 9th Street before I go home. And just talk to the people. And some of the prostitutes down there said, Johnny, you stay in school. I would talk to some of the businessmen, and they said, you're on the right path. Everybody was talking to me about education, and I couldn't get away from education if I wanted to. The next door person to me was a teacher. The church was always stressing education and giving scholarships. Everywhere I turned, education smacked me in the face. And so education came to me, it must be important. And it was important beyond just me getting the education and trying to improve myself and take care of family, feed a family, to educate a family, and to protect the family. That's what education is supposed to do for you. But for black people, it's supposed to do just a little more. It's supposed to educate you to do something for the group. And I came out of Howard High School in '55, the first class to graduate from on Market Street. And our motto was, what we gonna do beyond ourselves? What we gonna do for the group? What we gonna advance our race? That was our whole goal. Be successful and also advance your race. And we have lost that. And we got to find it back again. And that's what I want to talk about. How do we find it back? When I came back from the military, back in '64, I came home. And I had some tremendous experiences from college through the military. And so when I came back home, I knew I had to do something for the movement. I just knew I had to do it. And so I looked around Chattanooga, and I didn't find very much in Chattanooga. But I found Reverend Wright, H.A. Wright, and actually coordinating council. That's my kind of man. That's my kind of preacher. So I looked up and I wrote a paper for Reverend Wright and actually coordinating council. And I said the need for the black community is unity. So I wrote a paper on how we can unite the black community. So first thing we said was, what are the problems in the black community? What are they saying about us? And they were saying some things like this. the Negroes will never unite. The economic venture of successful black people will always be behind that, be backed by some white person. That's what people used to believe. And then it says, the church never will unite together to advance black people. They always just for themselves. That's what people used to say about the black church. They probably still say it. And then the people with education, they will use that education and they'll tell us to advance black people. And that's the stuff I said we had to overcome. And then, how are we gonna overcome it? Well, first of all, one thing you find out about the black community today is it is over-organized. In every black community across the nation, everywhere I've been 3/4 way around the world. Every black place I ever been, black people are over-organized. And they're over-organized by white people. They find a black person and give him a title, give him a little money, and then give him 10 people, and he's your spokesman. That's the way it is everywhere in the world. You can't get around it. And so that's the first thing I found out. We are over-organized, so we got to deal with that. And then we got to deal with the fact that we will not finance our own movement. Our movement is financed by white people. That's what Dr. King found out till he went to Chicago. Jesse Jackson told us this. He said, Jesse Jackson over breadbasket, Dr. King went to Chicago and found so many black millionaires, he couldn't believe it. And they raised a whole lot of money. That's the movement was financed in Chicago by black people, black millionaires. Dr. King broke down and cried when they financed that movement. They told him, you don't have to go nowhere to get no money to finance the movement in Chicago. We will finance it.
Wow, that's beautiful.
And King broke down and cried like a baby because he did not believe that black people would finance their own movement. And so we can finance our own movement if we have the need. So that's what we got to overcome, though. We got to overcome those kind of things. And then we got to believe in ourselves. And so I'm not going to talk to you about how push came. I'm going to talk to you about the young people that I saw at the Kevin Mohammed's place, those college students. They are well-meaning. They really want some education, but they don't want to carry the education far enough. They want an education so they can feed a family, educate a family, protect a family, and be successful. They want a livable wage, but they don't say nothing about advancing the group. They don't say nothing about advancing the group. And then I asked them at the very end, how many people have in the Push Excel program have heard about the Push Excel program? I was so shocked. Just about everybody in that room had heard of the program. That was an educational arm of Operation Push. Our flagship school was Howard High School. We had a staff of 12 people. We had a budget of $300,000. We had that budget for about 6 years. And we transformed the school in very specific areas. We wanted to increase attendance in school. We wanted to get parents involved in school. We wanted to get community involved in school. We wanted to get churches involved, and we did. And we improved the situation because we was financed by white people. And white people don't keep financing you if you're a victim. That's one thing we done. But guess what happened? Jesse Jackson ran for president of the United States of America. And he carried Hamilton County and Chattanooga. Every time he ran, he won this city and this county. That upset all the money people. Now, how did he win it? Because of his dealing with black children. The black people knew that Jesse Jackson's education program was helping their children and they rewarded him by voting for him. And they cut our budget a little at a time until we vanished. I am saying we got to renew that program for those kids now. I don't know how to do it. I don't know where we're gonna get the money from. I don't know whether we need any money. But I know we need to push Excel program somehow to get it embedded in the mind of black kids again. Because the kids I meet that was in school, when we had it in school, come up to me now and say, I remember you. You the push man. You know me. I said, yes, I'm the push man. I said, are you carrying it on with your children? They said, yes. And they still doing it. And every person in that room that night raised their hand, and they was parents. I am saying we got to do something to carry out the Push XL program and get it out in the atmosphere some kind of way. I don't know how we're gonna do it, but I'm gonna write another paper. I'm gonna write another paper for this time of what is needed in the black community, and we got to get that program mindset in the community some kind of way. And I'm gonna ask John Evans, he'll start with his newspaper, start putting that program in his newspaper. And you already got it, because I gave it to your reporter. And all you gotta do is just copy it down and just start in your newspaper just before school started. I'm gonna be on the radio. I'm gonna talk to Willie McClendon. She's gonna be on the radio. And everywhere you go, you're gonna hear me talking about Push XL program. Not in the schools, cause Trump ain't gonna let me get in your schools no more. You're not gonna let me go to your schools like it did last time. And then I'm gonna end with this. I'm gonna tell you how people treat you, how the system treats you. And I'm gonna end with this. When we signed the contract with Push XL program, we was at the Chamber of Commerce. And so we was getting ready to sign the first contract, $300,000. Judge Jackson was here. So all the white dignitaries of the chamber was there. And one condition they had for them to sign the contract, Johnny Holloway would not have an input into the Push XL program. That's what they said. That was the condition for getting the money. And so I looked at them and I said, let me tell y'all white people something. I said, I don't have to be part of this Push XL program for you to get them money. I said, black people got so many problems. I can go out there and just grab any one of them and deal with it. I said, but you can be assured that if you don't carry out the Push XL program right, I said, I'm gonna be watching you and I'm gonna tell on you. That's what I told him there. And then Jesse Jackson just got up and said, let me tell y'all something. He said, y'all crazy. That's what he said. He said, that's the man that makes the Push XL program work. And you don't want to be a part of it. I'm gonna go out here and hold a news conference and tell on y'all how y'all treat Judge Holloway in this meeting. And Jesse Jackson got ready to walk out of there. They said, wait a minute, let's sit down and talk about it. And then they want to put me on the board. They want me to sign the checks. They want to be everywhere. But that's how we got the money. And that's the way I played a role in that thing. It's because of Jesse Jackson, because they getting ready to put me to the side. But that's just a small part of what happens. And I end with that. But it's very important that we understand that education is the key to our success as a people, as individuals, and as a group. And we have forgotten the group part. And that's the part we got to bring back. Thank you.
John Holloway, he's one of the, like the young people that are OGs of the civil rights movement.
Yes.
So we really appreciate that information. Let's adhere to that. I want to recognize my friend too, Brother Freeman. He's been active in civil rights for years. We worked together at Combustion Engineering 40 years. Man, he was there 100 years. I was there. He was there when I got there, and he was there when I left. But he's one of the originators of the Unity Group. Start the Unity Group here in Chattanooga. So we wanted to let you know that. And he's always been working in civil rights, and he usually works behind the scenes. But give him a big hand. Now about the exhibit, I want to thank everybody who spoke. And we've had this exhibit for a number of years. My dad and I
before we passed, we used to go to the Chickamauga battlefield. And we didn't see anything about African Americans, just nothing, very little. And we would talk to them about, we need to see more about African Americans. And you'll find out if you go and talk to people about stuff, a lot of times they respond. So they start putting a little bit more African American history about African Americans who fought in the Civil War, who participated in the Civil War. So I went to them a few years later, and I told them I was putting an exhibit together about black soldiers in the Civil War. So they said, well, bring it down here, let's look at it, and make sure that it's of the quality that we are accustomed to and that kind of thing. And I took it. At that time, I was on the board of directors at the Regional History Museum that was downtown. Many of you might remember the Regional History Museum. But I went down there and talked about them, the display, and they said, well, we would do it, but let us do some work on it. And they put the proper material. My stuff was on crepe paper and, typing paper and different kind of stuff, but they put some material behind it where they could project it professionally. And I appreciate them for doing that. And so I was able to be the first exhibit on African American history about soldiers in the Civil War at the Chickamauga battlefield years ago. And we had children coming from local schools, coming to see, talk about, here to see about the soldiers and learn about the soldiers rather in the Civil War. And again, a few years after that, when the mall first opened, we were able to go out to Hampton Place Mall because some of the stores had not been filled, and we opened up what we call Museum in the Mall. This is before African American Museum and Business Hall, all of those kind of things. And we occupied a large store that was probably as big as this room here. And we had different artifacts from African American history, African Americans in the Civil War. We had, talked about, slavery. We talked about black being in the black church. I mean, all of that history that brought us forward. The black inventions was one of the most popular ones. You would just be amazed at things that African Americans invent. Even while still in slavery, they invented things. They put forth ideas. Eli Whitney, who invented cotton gin, that revolutionized cotton. He said, I got the idea from a slave. I saw him with an object like a comb, and he was weaving it through. He said, that's when I got the idea for the cotton gin. But you look at the situation they were in. They were cooks. They were housekeepers. They worked on the farm. Most of those tools were invented by black people to make their jobs easier. The broom, the mops, the egg beater, just a whole bunch of stuff by black people whose mind was still working strong and hard. But when I went downtown one day, I was driving a railroad van, and a white banker came out of the bank, and he said, are you the organization that's got the exhibit out there at the mall? And he said, I said, yes. He said, I never knew that blacks had anything to do with the Civil War. I never knew that they participated. This is the educated man. He said, I never knew. He said, I never knew. And I said, wow, and I'm thinking to myself, how many more people don't know? How many more people don't know? So we really pushed this type of exhibit, all over the city. And we're really proud of it. We're still working on it. But you imagine 400 years of slavery. Imagine 400 years of slavery. And there was no hope. People felt like there was no chance of them ever getting out of that situation. Like it was James Weldon Johnson who wrote in a line of who wrote the song "Lift Every Voice and Sing." And in that one verse, he said, "When hope unborn had died." Before you could think about hope, before you could think about getting out of slavery, that idea was gone. There was no hope. It was impossible. But still, there were black people working, black people who were free, and white people who were still working to end slavery. They knew it was an abomination, but they continued to work. They started the Underground Railroad, where people like Harriet Tubman freed 800 slaves. A black woman would go into the South and bring slaves back to the North. A black woman with a $40,000 note on her head, a fee. if you could catch her, you would get $40,000. How much $40,000 was back then? It was a lot of money, about $1 million. And, but there were still people working. There were still people working against slavery. So once the Civil War started, those minds of people who were working for slavery said, this is it. This is the break in the chain. This is the gateway to freedom. Because the North thought that they were going to win an easy war. It was going to be, we're going to get down there, we're going to just run over the South. But no, those are the folks down in the South, because most of the war was fought in the South. Those people down there, they knew the land. They knew how to hunt. They knew how to shoot. So it didn't come easy. So it went a lot longer than they thought it was. They thought maybe a year or two it'd be over, but no, it kept going, it kept going. But all the time, people like Frederick Douglass said, you need to free the slaves and let them fight for the United States. You need to free. They fought, they talked, they said, no, that's not gonna work, no, that's not gonna work. But then it became a strategy, a military strategy. Because as they freed slaves and they heard about it, the troops began to leave certain areas. I mean, when Sherman left Nashville, just to give you an example, left West Tennessee rather to come toward Chattanooga to start his march to the sea that ended the war, he would ride close to plantations because the Emancipation Proclamation had been put out by Abraham Lincoln. They would simply walk off the plantation and follow the troops. Just leave the plantation and walk, and many of them came toward Chattanooga. Contraband, they called them. They put them on the north side of the river called Camp Contraband. That was the beginning of the black community. That was the essence of the black community. Before the Civil War, there were just like 499 people, that's what they say, black people in Chattanooga. After the Civil War, there was 6,000. 6,000 on that side of the river, living in bad conditions. It was still pretty bad. But in '63, they started mustering into the United States Colored Troops. They started the 44th, and they started the 42nd. The 42nd did a lot of work around the city. They built bridges. They worked on the railroad. They pulled guard duty. But the 44th fought. The 44th went to the Battle of Nashville, and Sherman went the other way. He went on his march to the sea, but because he thought that the black soldiers would not fight. He said they would not fight, but he put them in the hands of somebody else. And when he was gone, the war broke out in Nashville. The Civil War broke out in Nashville, the Battle of Nashville. They took the 44th and took them with them anyway, where they fought valiantly. If you saw the story Glory, that's another story that should be told. The 44th, they fought in the Battle of Nashville. It were black and white men fighting together for the North. They died on the same battlefield. They helped each other. They got respect for each other. Now, I didn't write that. Another writer, a white writer, wrote that in a military newspaper, how they fought, how they witnessed that they fought. But our community started, its genesis began with black soldiers who stayed here and started on our community. You know what happened after that? Because the Union soldiers who had ties to the industrial North, they stayed here too. They saw the waterways, they saw the railroads, and they said, hey, here's opportunity here. We'll build factories along the river. That's how U.S. pipe combustions and all those things, they started as mills, and then they grew into large organizations that hired a lot of people. But some of those former black soldiers went to work for them in those mills. Never happened anywhere else in the United States other than Birmingham. It happened nowhere else. That black people were working in the 1800s in these mills. They had enough money to build, businesses. They started their business. Oh, there was a big commissary downtown. A commissary is like a Walmart that housed military equipment, different things. Some of those blacks worked in there. They learned how to, have business, business principles and stuff like that. And they started their own business, Main Street, 9th Street. And then blacks who lived in other cities found out, hey, there's blacks here in Chattanooga on 9th Street making all this money in other places. They need doctors, they need physicians, they need people who can fix the automobile, they need different things, so they start moving to Chattanooga. And that's how 9th Street built up to what it became, legendary. 9th Street, one of the most famous streets, black thoroughfares in the country at the time. The largest hotel was a Martin Hotel, even larger hotels in Atlanta. So this is what this exhibit represents. It represents the contributions of black soldiers and black women who even participated during the Civil War. You will see stories about them as well, and I hope you can enjoy and absorb it. And I'll let you go with that. All right.
I would be remiss if I didn't thank the Alton Park Development Corporation and the Chattanooga News Chronicle for partnering to make this happen today. Enjoy.
All right, thank you all. This has been a wonderful program. I want you all to make sure y'all take a browse throughout the rest of the African American History Museum. We have a rendition of a slave ship with the list of all of the ships that sailed slaves from Africa to America. The whole book, the list of the name of the ship, compliments of our curators and compliments of Alton Park Development Corporation. And there you can see how the slaves were actually put on the ship, stacked on top of each other, over here in the gallery section as well. And we also have our artists that put on the slave rendition of the slave exhibit. Mr. Jerry Allen is here today. Yes, and yes, some of his pieces of art are up and they are available to sell as well. And our Alton Park Development Corporation media team is here. We have Michael Simon, who is our marketing director. We have Robin Rose, who's somewhere videotaping or doing something with sounds. And then Joseph, they run around. So this whole program is being videotaped by WPTP 100.1 FM radio and media team. It will be available immediately, somewhat immediately, after this event. All you have to do is go to YouTube and type in WPTP 100.1 FM radio, and it will show up. And so I want to thank my media team for making this happen today so that you all can go back and watch this whole program today. It's been wonderful. I thank the Chattanooga News Chronicle for an amazing article that they put out in the newspaper. And Miss Faith Edwards is here. Miss Edwards, will you wave your hand? This is the wife and the better half of Mr. John Edwards, who's also co-owner of the Chattanooga News Chronicle. She's here today. And also I'd like to give a special tribute to Herman's, Robbie Phillips with Herman's Soul Food Restaurant for providing us with all of our wonderful treats today. And Ms. Faith, who's here today, that made it happen today. They got all the food here from him. So I thank you all. They did a wonderful job of setting everything up for you all to enjoy. So as you walk through the museum, go ahead and get you something to eat and enjoy. Thank you all for coming today. You all have a blessed MLK.
We also want to thank you the help of the American Legion.
Oh, American Legion. Oh, Lord. You don't stand up. This is the commander of the American Legion Post 0291. And I would be definitely remiss if I did not recognize Mr. Tate over here, Mr. Mitchell, who was very, very helpful with this event and as well, and everything that we do here. This post is amazing, so you all contribute to their post as well. All the contributions that you make today will go toward the Mary Walker Foundation. They have a box over there. You can drop your contributions. And if you have a credit card or a debit card, Alton Park Development Corporation will be more than happy to take that donation and pass that on to the Mary Walker Foundation for this amazing exhibit. Okay, so we are ready. We got our credit card machine for you. If you have a debit card, checks, and those kind of things, you can drop it in the box. Okay? Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Okay.
Yeah, sitting right there on front of that's where they marked that right there. That was a mark, man. A lot of people don't know. It was the biggest hotel in the South.
Yeah, I've been to the flat. And the flat name I was early to put on that was the first where they first it up.
Just our contribution period.
Thank you, Mr. Holloway. That was incredible. Thank you so much.
Jerry Allen, Jerry Allen's office, and they're all able to set.
What's your commander name?
I remember, he said all on CNBC, I just can't remember his name.
Sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. Here they would use mainly producing cotton, tobacco, sugar, and rice. It was cotton that was clean. You guys stop for your road. Slave labor. Cotton's immense profits shaped the posture of the South of the outside world. The Federal Army was rather loosely organized, somewhat consistently listed personnel. Blacks were not allowed in the service. On April 12, 1861, South Carolina successfully fired upon the United States flag at Fort Sumter. The federal government was totally unprepared for this act of aggression. The South was fired. The Federal Army's finest officers and Robert E. Lee joined the rebellion. Just a few days after that point graduated.
My dad was.
Oh, wow. Yeah. And that was the DFW that was on Lee Highway.
Yeah.
They got like that. Yeah, that's one of the reasons why they sold the building. A lot of them members. A lot of them.
Anybody that's ever played a role in African history, from slavery to civil rights movement, we got the pictures.